this family, and I say it as a family, this family has done more for this sport than a lot of people that I know. And I say it's a family because not only is him a rider, is his father, his mother, and his entire family indulged in making a motorcycle become number one for a long time, and the sport become better. And I've grown to know this guy more and more. And when I first met him, I really didn't meet him. I was on the other side of the fence in Elkhorn just watching him. Going, man, this little kid flies. He can't be, what, 4 feet 2? And he was just riding the wheels off his bike I'd never even heard of. And later in life, we've crossed paths. I couldn't tell you how much it means to me to be friends with this gentleman. And his memory is just unbelievable. Everything's just like iconically just posted out. You ask him for a picture, yeah, so, here it is. And who the guy is. It's just phenomenal. So without further ado, I want to bring up my good friend and a good friend to everybody here, Scott Wallenberg. This bike right here, and this gentleman debuted here in 1972 on this track and started a war. I mean, it was unbelievable. People were switching bikes left and right. That was really weird. Anyways, and it just went on and on and on. So this is a classic bike, classic person. I had the honor of inducting his father 4 years ago for everything he did for the sport. So, Scotty, we're going to induct you into the Hall of Fame, and I'm going to give you the mic, and you're going to have some fun.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Woody. Oh my gosh. Hi.
I got to have respect for you.
All right. This is iconic right here because this is what I remember over 40 years ago. Okay? With Sue handing Scott his first trophy. And here. And I mean, it was iconic. So I'm going to let you talk, but before we do that, I want Sue to do something for me that I've been waiting to do for a long, long time. And I want her to give you your new trophy.
Oh my God.
Give this one out of order. There you go. There you go. Now you can talk. There's a picture, if you guys got to look at this, there's a picture up here in the right-hand corner, and that's Sue giving Scotty his trophy. And I thought about something that I wanted to do for Scott, not only inducting him into the Hall of Fame, which is a great thing, but I wanted to make this so memorial, a memory for you. And I was driving down the road and I was thinking, oh my God, I'm looking at these pictures, how am I going to put them on here? And I saw this picture and I went, you know what, I want Sue to give him this trophy because it really means a lot to me and I know it'll mean a lot to you. So here you go.
Thank you very much. First of all, test 1, 2, 3. Can everybody hear me okay? All right, too far, too close to the mic. So, anyway. Wow. When Woody called me and said that I was in the conversation for this award, I said, Woody, I got every thrill that I could have when you inducted my dad. So, you don't need me up there. But I really appreciate the fact that I am here right now and able to do this. I was talking with my sister Linda here about what, she goes, well, what are you going to say? And I said, I'm just going to talk about motocross and what it means to me for my whole life Because really, when you look at it, in Sweden, their logo is 3 crowns. And for me, there's 3 stages of motocross. The first one is my life before I even knew what motocross was. I was born in Iron Mountain, Michigan, and my dad was a TV repairman, and it just led to the fact that he rode bikes when he was a kid. And one day he traded an 8-track tape player for a Honda 50 motorcycle. and it rekindled everything. But I got to ride it. So he let me ride this little bike and then tag along with him a little bit. We went to Santa Fe Speedway and saw these guys racing flat track. But they had a jump. On Friday nights, they had a TT. And so I got to see a guy jump. But the other thing that was a big thing is in 1963, my dad took me to see the movie The Great Escape. And I never forgot that jump. None of us have. So when I did have my Stingray, which I really wanted badly to have, we learned to jump like that too. So, but then my dad's friend, they were at Northwest Honda, and the owner of Northwest Honda, he was here somewhere, Les Klinko.
He just went out for a minute.
Okay, well, Les Klinko had a poster on the wall at the shop that said, there's a thing called a Moto X at Elkhorn, Wisconsin, November 2nd, 1969. And so our friend Carol Erskine, who had bought a bike at Northwest Honda, said to my dad, let's go ride up and go see this thing called a Moto X. So we drove up, and it was the most life-changing experience I have ever could imagine when I saw these guys on these motocross bikes at this unbelievable track, Elkhorn, Wisconsin. I'm like, Dad, this is what I gotta do. But my dad was 43 years old, and I was 13, and my dad said, well, Scott, I want to do it too. So we wound up, somebody had told us about going to watch another race at a place called Wilmot, Wisconsin. And we go to watch this race at Wilmot, and at that time my dad had a Suzuki street bike, an X6 250 Hustler, and I was on the back, and Carol Erskine was on a 305 Honda, and his son was on the back. And we just went up to watch this race because we'd already been, totally in love with this motocross thing. So we're going to go see another one. But we get there, and there's nobody there. Track is closed. There's nothing. So my dad goes, well, gee, the track's here, and I'm on a bike. Why don't we go ride around? So he's riding a Suzuki street bike, and I'm just watching at the time. And finally, this guy comes in a pickup truck and goes, what the hell are you guys doing? My dad goes, man, we came here for a race. Nobody's here. We thought it'd be okay to ride around. Guy goes, this is private property. However, if you pay me $2, you can ride all day. And my dad goes, could we come back and do it again? Yes. And we brought the little Honda 50s back, and that started the whole thing.
Wow.
So,
Good story.
fast forward a year later, 1970, and I bought a Sachs motorcycle. People have asked me, Scott, why do you have number 13? Well, the bike that I bought on consignment for $400 at Antioch at Roger Debenham's Suzuki shop was owned by a sign painter named Mike Tiskus. And Mike Tiskus had painted these beautiful number plates, because that's what he did when we all had pie plate numbers and electrical tape. So we brought the bike home, and I'm excited. And I said, Dad, I don't know about that number 13, And he says, Scotty, if you think we're going to take those beautiful painted plates off that bike so you could put on some kind of a pie plate deal Forget it. You're number 13. And that's why I've always had number 13. That's how it started. But, thank you. So motocross, that's all I could think about. That's all I could think about in school. I would get goosebumps on Wednesday thinking about Sunday's race. And I think about coming, got my first trophies and coming here to Byron. And actually my first race at Byron, we were reminiscing about this with Joe Vincer last night. My first race at Byron, after the first moto, Joe goes to my dad and goes, he's awfully small. I don't think he's really ready to be out on the track with these men riding motocross. My dad said, well, Joe, I think he is, and I think you need to give the kid a chance. He's going to let everybody go and just follow the pack off the start. So, fast forward, my very first race that I won, a first place, was on one of these beautiful Monarchs in 1972 here. And things just progressed in my career, and I got faster and faster. And I had a dream with a guy named Dave Sprisler from Wisconsin who raced motocross, is very fast. If you know Dave, he won lots of titles. But I remember we were sitting underneath a tarp in the pouring rain at Aztalan and waiting for, after practice, for the races to begin. And he said, you know what? My dream is to race the Nationals. I want to race the Nationals. That's what I want to do. And Dave said the same thing. You and I will go in a van, we'll travel the country, and we're going to try and race the Nationals. Well, I did have the opportunity in 1975 to try it out. My dad called me. I was in California at the time. And he goes, the AMA is going to start this new thing called the Amateur National Championships. You have to make a decision. Do you want to race pro, or do you want to race the AMA, which now is called the Loretta Lynn's, but back then. And I said, Dad, I don't know about this amateur thing, but I just really want to race pro. I want to see if I can do it. So I got my AMA pro license in 75. Finally, after maybe 4 or 5 attempts driving to Omaha, driving to Buchanan, driving to these other tracks, I finally made it in to, I had to go through a 10-minute qualifier and a 10-minute last chance, but I made the gate. And Marty Smith lapped me twice in those motos. But I made the gate, and there was a whole bunch of other guys in our area that had never done that before. So it was like, okay. So now, 75 was not really a great season for me. Lots of bikes. Remember, I got the award at the Slowpokes Banquet, the Bike of the Month Club. I rode the Harley, I rode a Montesa, I rode a Bultaco, I rode a Yamaha, I rode some of Eric Scrudlin's cast-off bikes, whatever he didn't want. I got to ride those. And we didn't have a lot of money and blah, 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 blah. So the Monarch thing died. And so, but I got this job to sell advertising. And my first job was Cycle Times. And the first guy I called up to buy an ad is in this room right now. And it's Vic Krause. And I said, Vic, it's Scotty Wallenberg from Cycle. It wasn't even called Cycle Times. It was Illinois Cycle News. And I'm working there now. And would you like to buy an ad? And Vic goes, yeah, Scotty, I'll buy an ad. And I think I said, you would? But Vic helped launch my career. He bought a half-page ad in that. And so I always appreciate the fact that, I didn't know anything about advertising. I just had a rate card and a phone list. and I called people that I thought knew who I was. But I got to, a big thing happened. I got invited to Byron to ride a brand new Mako 250 for the magazine test called the AW 250. Okay, and this was all new. And so they brought the bike out, and it had numbers on it. It was one of, Vic had probably sold the bike already, and then begged the guy to let us take it out for this bike test because Roger Debenham was there from Mako, Midwest, and Vic came out, and Mark Thompson. I'm not sure if my dad was there or not, but Joe Vincer was there. And so I was really not known as a really great 250 rider. I was just growing. I didn't grow till after I graduated from high school. So, the first driver's license, 5'1", 90 pounds. But I grew a little bit and got on this Mako. And after doing this test session, Joe Vincer comes up with a stopwatch and says, "You broke the track record by 3 seconds."
Wow.
I'm like, whoa, okay. So based on that particular day, Roger Debenham was impressed enough to say, "You know what, Scotty, we're going to put you on one of these AW 250s. You're going to ride with Vic Kraus as the dealer that we're going to work with." Kraus had Carl Berggren, who's here, make black leather motocross pants that said Kraus Critter. The Kraus Critter was on the side. It said Kraus and matching jerseys. And so the Kraus team and Mako team were Hallman sponsored. And that was, that was my first sponsorship from Carl Berggren, who I just adore this guy so much. But he believed in me, and Vic Kraus believed in me, and Roger Debenham. And then Olaf Ayen was brought into the fold to put on his special up pipe and his floating brake, the rear brake you designed for Mako, the rear floating brake kit. He did the porting. He put on a Krober ignition. Nobody had an electronic ignition on a Mako before. And so he put this together, and something just all clicked. The bike and me and Olaf and what we did. And we did do some really fun things for this little kid from the Midwest that just wanted to do that and do that. So there's so many things that flash through when I come back here, these pivotal moments in my motocross career. In 77, in a lot of ways, got even better, and I had some good results, and I didn't follow the points or anything. I got to ride the whole Trans AMA series, except 2 races, and did all these things. And then, one of my dreams was to be a Husqvarna factory rider, after all, with all my Swedish background and everything. And I was being considered for a Husky factory ride with Arnie Nielsen, the guy that I crashed with when Olaf was referring to that particular thing. But Niels had said, "Scott, we're working on it. We're trying to find a budget for you. It's now the clock is ticking. It's January, February, March, and I'm not getting an answer, and the season is coming up." Well, then I get a phone call from a guy at Cosmopolitan Motors, Larry Wise, who was the Montesa importer, and asked me if I was interested in a ride going through Bob Welter's shop, Great Escape. So I was, yeah, I want to do that, especially since it was the only offer. No fault from Bob, he was the dealer that they got to be the guy that gets the free bike from them. And anyway, the bike came, and the first race was here at Byron, and it had the thinnest fork tubes in the front, and we got a rock. If you remember, a rock came and bent the fork, and it wouldn't go up and down. And this was in April, and then we had to wait for 3 weeks for another set of forks to come for the bike because it was all brand new and they weren't very happy, and at Cosmopolitan Motors. But anyway, unfortunately, here at Byron Motosports Park, I remember these things. May 23rd, 1978.
What time was it?
Well, it was the first moto, so you got to figure it was what? In the 258 class. Up at the top, when you come back out of the woods and before you make in order to slow the downhill drop off, Joe made the track go around the tree. And that slowed you down. So when I put my foot down to go around that tree, well, it caught a tree root and turned it around. And that was it. So I had to have surgery. And in those days, an MCL was a big deal. Now I would have been back on a bike in 3 weeks. But back then I was in a cast for 3 months, the entire summer. And I started riding again, but that little window of being a pro racer and that ended. But at the same time, I got this job offer to move to California to work for Motocross Action and Dirt Bike Magazine. And that was in November of '78. And so the one door closed, but my new motocross career opened up, and that's to be really involved in the magazines, another step up from where I was at Cycle Times, which Cycle Times was like going to college or publishing. I learned how to sell ads, design them, bill them, collect the money when they owed. Had to drive around in my van and collect money sometimes, and that. But then working for the magazine, and now that my first day there was December 1978, and I was at those magazines for 21 years. And followed that up with Racer X, which is now going to be at my 17th year. So this has been, but just to understand that motocross, I don't know how to describe it. If we were talking today, if you've never done it, you just don't really realize what this thing is about. And most of us in this room, we all grew up in a magical time for motocross. It was all new. It was every day was a new invention, a new idea, a new something or other that a guy like Eric Brewer would come up with, or Olaf Ayen would come up with, or Vic Krause would come up with. And you're like, wow, it's just so spectacular. And then I was this lucky guy that happened to have a pro license that knew how to talk. And so I didn't know about advertising, but I knew that I believed in what it could do because I saw so many companies that I helped launch their business. So I just really, from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you to you guys having me. And I also want to say thanks to my family that couldn't be here, my wonderful wife, Sherry, whose mom did all the jerseys for Jim O'Neill and made she worked for O'Neill, so there was a motocross connection with my wife there. Goat Wreckers jersey. She goes, Jimmy Holly, Eric Kehoe, she did all that. And to my sister Linda and my sister Christine, who can't be here, and of course, Wally and Ruth they just bled motocross. And I just want to thank Woody for keeping this fire burning. And thank you for letting me talk so much.
Well, the first guy he leaves, I built one more trophy. I had so much time. But this is how much you mean to me as a friendship, what you mean to us as what you do for the sport, what you've done for the sport, everything that you and your family has done for the sport. Go Cubbies too, I gotta say that. This is for you, and I'll get this to you, but I want to show it to you now. This is a work of art for me, and it's just something I just think you should have. The triple bagger.
Oh my gosh.
That's your motor. your monarch, my friend. I worked with Mike Buchak, who was supposed to bring out Scotty's bike, and unfortunately had an engine failure on his truck, and he just couldn't make it. But I contacted him a year ago, and I said, you know, I built the trophy for Wayne, and I had a lot of fun doing it. And I said, every rider that I induct into the Hall of Fame, I'd like to build them an engine. And I said, do you have any Monarch parts? And he goes, yeah, sure, no problem. I'll get them to you. Well, that was a year ago. Well, he got busy, I got busy. Next thing I know, it's 3 weeks ago, and he goes, oh, I'm going to send you those parts. So I worked like hell to get this thing done, but we got it all done, and I'll ship this to you. There's a couple little things I got to finish on it, but this is from us to you.
You guys are too kind. Thanks.
Oh, there we go. Thank you, Scotty, for everything you've done. This helmet over here on this table, this helmet.